The black champion is referred to having an accidental title. Is it true? Did he actually just only beat a blown-up middleweight with a paper title in Tommy Burns? Well, we are going to get one man's opinion of just what the rating of Jack Johnson should be. And this man is former heavyweight champion James J. Corbett. And this is an article that he wrote on July 14th, 1912, entitled Johnson Showed He Is Overrated. July 13th. Although Jack Johnson and Ed Wogos retained their titles in the holiday battles with Jim Flynn and Joe Rivers, neither champion added to his reputation. The Las Vegas affair proved that Johnson is far from being the marvel he was dubbed by the press and public following that wonderful feat of beating a wreck of the once great Jeffries. Jeffries was nowhere even near his normal self and was ripe for the taking. The writer has contended right along, as readers of this column can testify, that Johnson is greatly overrated pugilist, and I believe his performance in the holiday battle with Flynn furnishes plenty of evidence on that point. Johnson has never defeated a first-class man. Tommy Burns, a great little boxer, was too severely handicapped in weight and strength to hope to beat the big Negro. Jeffries, he was only a shadow of the man who once won the heavyweight championship and who successfully defended it until a lack of worthy challengers brought about his retirement from the ring. And the record books show why Johnson sidesteps return meetings with Jeanette Langford and Sam McVeigh, really high-class heavyweights. He is afraid to fight them. While not an eyewitness of Johnson-Flynn contest, and through telegraph and mail reports of the battle vary according to viewpoints or possible prejudice of writers. A careful proposal of several detailed stories of the fight, round by round, convinces me that Johnson has shot his bolt and is sliding down the toboggan at high speeds on his journey into the Valley of Has-Beens. Against Flynn, he failed to deliver the goods as expected and was awarded the decision only after the police had stopped the battle on account of it having degenerated into a hugging and butting match in which the rules were disregarded by both parties. An agreement was made beforehand by the contestants calling for a decision in favor of the man who led on points up to the battle of any possible interruptions of the battle. Was saved the much-touted Johnson his highly prestiged title of heavyweight champion of the world, and this in competition with a man probably 40 pounds lighter than himself. Taking a line from the encounter of the 4th, Johnson is a wise bird in deciding to retire from the ring after Labor Day. His reign at the head of the heavyweight division of pugilism is rapidly drawing near an end, and I reckon no one is more aware to that fact than the accidental champion himself, as he is showing complete fear in fighting any caliber of a first-class fighter. It looks like a cinch that Johnson will refuse to do battle with either Sam Langford or Joe Jeanette before the date set for his withdrawal from the game. I understand he plans to take on one or two of the White Hopes if arrangements can be made. Al Palzer is mentioned as the one to be favored in this respect. Of course, the retirement thing may be only a bluff to avoid the other Negroes for the time being and enable him to pick up a little bit more of soft money with very little effort. If he has no intention of ever again meeting Langford or Jeanette or Sam McVeigh, the champion had better quit the game for good and all. He can no longer get away with that bull about nobody wanting to fight him. The public fell for that talk for a while. But now, after that Flynn has been made plain, Johnson is just not an unbeatable kind. He will have to fight often or duck into seclusion. It may be Jack's agents have tipped him off to the fact that within the ranks of the young white heavyweights are to be found one or two who give promise of developing into fighters of quality, and has pulled the retirement thing with the hopes of bullying the novices into meeting him before they are fully matured. Johnson is no boob, whatever else he may be accused of. I have considerable to say about young Al Palzer in this column last week, and a few more words on the same promising subject may not be amiss in connection with the discussion of the heavyweight situation, especially so as Palzer has challenged Johnson to box for the championship. When Big Al fought Bombarder Wells a few weeks ago, he entered the ring in a miserable condition. He won on that, but not until knockdown and almost out by the Englishman. It was phenomenal power to assimilate punishment that turned in defeat into victory on that occasion, and it was a lack of stamina and vitality in Wells' makeup that prevented him from finishing Palzer in the first round, when the American was practically helpless. Palzer's fight against Kaufman last winter made a great impression on experts who saw the contest. He made a host of friends and rooters on that occasion by defeating a boxer who had been regarded up to that point of the knockout of Jim Flynn as a solitary white hope in the race for the championship. But when Al encountered the ring the other night, the crowd was surprised at the marked change in appearance of the youthful gladiator. Palzer was in rotten shape, and he had nobody to blame but himself. If I may use expressive through inelegant adjective, he was hog fat and carried at least 20 pounds of surplus weight. When in charge of Tom O'Rourke, the big Iowan was at least always in good physical trim condition. Whoever directed his recent training knows as much about conditioning as a fighter as I do of the scientific of aviation, and that's nothing at all. When it was first announced that Palzer was to box Wells, learning that he had no trainer of experience to advise him at work and while in the ring, I volunteered my services to the young man. I did so with no ideas of gain. In fact, I stated that I would not accept reimbursement for services, but when he only too gladly lent my aid and advice gratuitously at any time they might be needed, I have no reason to believe that Pelzer wanted me to act in capacity of advisor in the Wells match, but that his manager, whoever he may be, vetoed the plan, claiming that I was too friendly with Tom O'Rourke to be trusted. I might represent such a charge if it were not so positively ridiculous that it made me smile. The records show that O'Rourke was generally on the other, and that I figured in a contest during my boxing days. While never particularly chummy with Tom, I know enough about the game to recognize his ability as a manager and conditioner of fighters, and to give him zero credit due for the skill in which they are important capacities. Pelzer was out of shape and is in no way a future threat to the heavyweight Jack Johnson.